was like in like 2 years probably.
It's been a while.
So who's investing? This is another enormous trend. There's never been so many music-centric accelerators or incubators. I mean, in the 5 years that I've been in this space, it's not even close. I imagine there's probably never been this active ever. And we have Sputnik as a representative of that trend as well. But it's great because when we started with Music Meets Video, I think the only one that existed that was music-centric that I was aware of was an incubator in Nashville that didn't even offer cash. It was just like, oh, we have some mentors here and you can help get plugged into the local community. Now there are full-blown accelerators that offer funding, that offer mentorship, that's very plugged into specific styles of music. So Techstars is kind of the biggest brand name. They seem to be taking up a lot of media attention. Not to say that they're the best or the worst, but just as far as if you Google music tech accelerators, they will come up at the top.
What's the one in LA with the really big wig music?
Shut down. The Smash Labs?
Smash Mouth?
The George Carter, yeah, they shut it down. I don't know why. So Techstars, Abbey Road, that were here. Hopefully, if you guys, they were running around Capital Factory during South by. Really nice guys. Music Works is another European one. The Capital Innovation Center, Capital Records, theirs is a non-funded one. They just kind of give you access to their team. But there's a bunch. The Project Music one is in Nashville. There's supposed to be a G in front of the beta. It's G beta. But anyways, it's another one of those things that's really putting music tech back on the map. Because Demo Day gets a lot of attention, whether it's locally or just generally. And so I would say that as part of the trends, I would say the explosion of the music tech accelerators is really helping put a lot of interesting startups on the map for music tech, again, getting the attention of a lot of investors that maybe would have never even thought about music tech as an investment opportunity. Go ahead.
Do you think that music tech accelerators popping up is a sign of market
Yeah, there's chicken and
interest?
egg.
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, so I think, yes, that the music tech accelerators, Techstars for sure follows the trend, they don't lead the trend. So yes, I would say that in general, because music tech is getting healthier as an ecosystem, there's just more interest. And then for those of you who aren't super familiar with accelerators, just 2 seconds on it. Why are accelerators important and why is it good for music tech? From the investor perspective, accelerators are lead gen for investors. So especially for angels who cannot scale their time, they use accelerators as a way to find leads for good companies. And the very simple math that a lot of angel investors do is, okay, well, here's some companies that somebody saw something in and that they've spent a few months getting better. And so it's better to go to a demo day or better to read the press release and send them emails because it's a safer bet than just kind of running around meetups and trying to get lucky with who they shake hands with. Especially for those more generalized investors who don't understand what we were saying before, the nuances of music tech. They'll go, oh, well, if these Techstars guys or if these Sputnik guys vetted these companies, then there's something there, I'll take a look. So that's the benefit for us as founders, is that mentality for investors, if that makes sense. Of course, for music tech, we need help with lots of stuff, partnerships, hiring, sales, et cetera, and these are music-centric folks that can help with whatever hoops you need to get over. And then there's a little bit of seed money. It's really not that much. It's usually about 100,000, 120, 200. What's Sputnik?
It's 100 with an option to add 250.
Oh, that's nice.
Killing it.
Okay, so maybe 300K plus from Sputnik. But usually it's a little bit of seed money. It's not insignificant, but it's enough to really get you going. But you have to still hit like investment pretty hard. In fact, a lot of, I can't speak for Sputnik, but for Techstars, their KPI is how much their companies get funded. So they'll give you a little bit to get started, but then it's really on you to go get the rest. Non-accelerator investors. So ran the numbers, and there's about 109 investors, not counting accelerators, incubators, that did music tech deals in 2019. Email me if you want the list. But just to kind of give you guys a generalized idea, if you guys don't know VC that well, these are pretty tier one firms. So NEA, Graycroft, USV, True Ventures. And then the one on the left is the only one from Austin, Next Coast Ventures, so I thought I'd add them. But from Austin, you have Capital Factory, Sputnik, and Techstars, which are supporting, but they're accelerators, so they're kind of out of this list.
Who did Next Coast invest in?
Probably Backtracks, if I had to guess. There's only 2 deals, so it's big pick.
Next Coast was in Backtracks.
Okay,
I would
Backtracks.
go look, there's an NPR announcement about Backtracks funding, they list the firms invested, and there's like, actually Austin came together on that. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
which is great. That's
There are-
awesome
there are a few other Austin firms.
when that happens. That's fantastic.
Very cool.
There is new music tech funds as well, and figure since this is usually an earlier stage crowd, here's some new seed stage funds that have just popped up in the last couple months. The first one, Raised in Space, controversial because it's Scooter Braun, who's not super popular, but it is his, what we call micro VC, so it's him and 2 other angel investors who pooled money together. Their firm operates like a VC, but it's really just 3 guys that are investing. But this is strictly for music tech seed deals only. Warner released a seed fund called WMG Boost, which is only for music tech. Again, seed deals, most people think, oh, Warner must be Series A or B. This is seed deal, so very early stage. So the key takeaways from this, for anyone who's thinking about raising or just kind of interested in learning about the fundraising landscape, the combination of the successful outcomes, Splice, Spotify, all the ones we mentioned, the changing perception among people that, okay, it's not just Pandora not making money, there is actually money to be made in music. The rise of these new accelerators is really changing. There's a new energy around music tech. Important caveats to remember. Even though it's growing, it's still pretty small. So we have to kind of just be realistic with that. There are new verticals in music tech. Why did I bring that up? There's more competition for venture dollars, particularly if you are competing against podcasts and audio companies. Understand that the trend lines are going in their direction. So it may be a bit of a challenge. But in general, it's great because investors are more savvy about music tech, and then Austin's still behind. Considering the reason why we started this group is to hopefully elevate the perception of Austin in music tech. Only a couple deals. There's way more than 2 music tech companies here, so hopefully through Sputnik, through other people, we can kind of elevate the fundraising from within Austin for music tech companies. Fundraising strategy for those that are kind of thinking about, okay, cool, how do I approach this? For music, if you're a pre-seed or seed, go really narrow with your investor search. So you want to look for music-centric angels. You can use the list that I pulled, but what you want to do is find those people that are doing seed deals in music and that the individual partner has a background in music. Your biggest hurdle when you're raising this early is to find your lead. What does a lead mean? It means the person that sets the terms on the note for the round. That is your #1 hurdle, is to find that person. So find someone who has done that before, who has led deals before, and who knows music, because other investors trust that person. So I go, oh, so-and-so, he worked for Universal Music, he was a musician, or he's done a bunch of deals in music, and he or she said, these are the terms, cool, I'm good with that. That's how investors think. And then a hot take, controversial, Austin, not a great place to find leads. Great place to find follow-on investors, but focus your lead investor energy outside of Austin. Once you've raised some money or at least have a lead, then come back to the Austin investment community. Alex? Okay, take that as
Are you done?
No, just your thoughts on my last statement.
Oh, okay. I thought you were transitioning into me.
I was gonna say you. What do you think, Alex?
I think, yeah, people in Austin have the general conception that Luis explained earlier about streaming services and the challenge of making money in music, and I think we had a lot more interested people in the Bay Area that were willing to hear us out. Also, Austin is more of a, I guess, a revenue versus growth, so they want to see money coming in right out of the gate versus, how many users can you get, and we'll figure out the financial model later. So
This was in 2015. That's changing. Austin is there's way more investment money here than there was even a few years ago. And with that, the perception of growth versus revenue versus growth is kind of changing. But yeah, at that time, it was most of the investment community here were people who had made money either through investment or in their personal life from doing B2B SaaS, and that's what they liked. And so anything else, it was a really big challenge to find investors here. So that's if you're pre-seed or seed. If you're Series A, you're just gonna be lumped in with any other tech company, so don't really pigeonhole I say pigeonhole in the sense of don't narrow the perception of you as just a music tech company. You're just a tech company. And so focus on your traction, show the numbers. That's what Series A investors is all about, traction and data. So just play that as your main selling point, not necessarily look at how much I can change music or whatever, which is great. I'm not saying that it's not a noble cause, but from an investor point of view, you're just gonna go, cool, show me your financials, show me the numbers, because when you're at the Series A, that's all they really wanna see anyways. And then it all stages. This is a bit of a hot take. Maybe this is more personal for me. So I started working in investment banking before startups. So I started at the finish line, not the starting line. And so I've always been confused why no one talks about exits. Not no one. Most people don't focus on exits. At Techstars, it was good companies are just focus on making a great company and the exits will find you. I fundamentally disagree with that because I've been through enough deals where I know that that's not the case. The companies that have exits, the founders usually work their ass off to get an exit. So what does that mean? As music tech founders, keep an eye on the trends. Watch what's happening M&A, IPO wise. Notice, what we talked about, how much things have changed since 2015 as far as deals that have happened in the last 12 months as opposed to a couple years ago. And if there's an explosion of music tech, pounce. Like it may be the time to start thinking about, am I gonna be interesting to Spotify or whoever else that is buying companies? Hot take, you won't hear a lot of people, Sputnik, would you say that to people?
Say what to people?
Like look out for M&A?
We usually ask in the interview, like, what was your exit? Just so we know they're thinking about it.
Okay, that's good. But it's actually,
Focus.
yeah, that's actually not as common as one would think. Because most of the accelerators, and even in business school, they're just like focused on building a great company. Which is, it is good advice, but you gotta be realistic too. Okay, in general, if you're fundraising for a pre-revenue company, as I kind of mentioned before, focus on those industry-specific people, and you want to build your pitch. This is now how you would pitch an investor. Focus on the problem. That's what they're really placing their bet on, is how big the problem is, not necessarily how awesome your tech is. It's really about the problem. Have a clear explanation of your pre-revenue traction, like what have you done so far, even if you're not making money, pilots, pipeline users, etc. Remember to differentiate. And then you should seriously consider an accelerator. I know that it's a big deal. You have to kind of drop your life if you're moving to another state. But for pre-revenue companies where you could really use a lot of help, even if you're a seasoned entrepreneur, with the explosion of music tech accelerators, even local ones like Sputnik, etc., like think about it because it does pay off. If you have revenue, focus on angels and VCs and build your pitch around data. Here's how much money I make, here are my unit economics. If you give me X amount of dollars, that'll just catapult me. It's a recipe that I can repeat. So focus on your unit economics, your margins, churn, CAC, all the kind of the standard metrics, and then paint a picture about how their investment will lead to better process, better margins, and more revenue for your company. And then fundraising approaches, I can kind of skip this. Do you guys are interested in like convertible notes versus price rounds? Okay, we'll skip it. So now what we'll do is for anyone that has raised capital before, it could be storytelling time, it could be question and answer time. If anyone wants to share their experiences, I can start, or Alex, you can start.
Sure.
What did we learn? What did we think and we're wrong about?
So Luis and I started a company together in 2013 or 14 called Music Meets Video. We ran it for like 3 years, about on and off towards the end, I think.
Right.
And we were part of the Capital Factory Accelerator, and we first tried to raise money without a lot of the information that we have now. After Music Meets Video, Luis went to work for a company where he learned a lot about fundraising, how to strategize it. And so I think a lot of the mistakes that we made were trying to track down every VC and angel here in Austin, contacting them and pitching them, sending them decks, and we got really poor turnout from that. And then also kind of trying to find people and contact them in the Bay Area and LA and areas that, you know, we thought we could find money. But what we didn't really take is okay, we're about to start fundraising, here's our strategy moving forward into
We
it.
didn't have a plan. We
didn't
just
have any
started.
plan. We're like, whoa, guess we gotta raise some money. And we ended up raising a small amount from our first angel and getting to work for a little bit longer. But ultimately, we had no strategy. We had really no way to identify the type of investor that would be interested in a company like ours. And we had some really good statistics. Like our time on site was like 23 minutes, which was unheard of at that time. We're getting a lot of users to join our contests. We hosted like our pitch was American Idol for the YouTube generation. So we basically we'd partner with a record label like Interscope, and we'd say, I don't know, one of the contests, but like Ed Sheeran or something.
Oh yeah, Ed Sheeran.
And so we'd say, okay, Ed Sheeran's got a popular song right now. Let's go ahead and do a cover contest. And we'd reach out to all of these independent artists, people on YouTube making covers, and we'd put them in like head-to-head, hot or not style, like watch these two and vote on your favorite. And then they'd vote on this one, and this one would replace. And so people were just voting over and over again. It's really cool. And I don't know that as a CEO and COO, we knew how to really tell that story to lean on the positives and the data that we were seeing.
I think this is something that we did wrong. I think a lot of people do wrong with the first time that they do a startup. It was both of our first startup. We kind of pitched the value prop to investors and customers as one and the same. And so we focus a lot on, here's how cool this thing is. Whereas investors, everything needs to be phrased under the context of here's how you make money. And we didn't really do that. In hindsight, you know, it seems so it's one of those things where they're like, duh, this is obvious. But you don't know it until you kind of do it, and then you can analyze it after. Like, oh yeah, we were just talking to them about what our thing did and how marketers would want it for their campaigns. It was never about going back to kind of the exit, how do you exit, etc. We never really tied it back to why would it be interesting to this investor? And I think this is a critical part, which is if we had targeted people, like we were saying, that understood music, understood digital, understood the trend lines, like what does 23 minutes on site actually mean, then we could focus on some of those metrics and that would really resonate. But for those people that didn't know, they're like, cool, is that good? I don't like, all right. So anyways, that's some of the stuff that we learned.
I think for a long time we tried a number of different revenue models that didn't work out for us, and we would talk to investors and I'd say like, we got a really good white label opportunity. We made like $20,000, and I told an investor, I'm like, we can do this and make a lot of money. And he's like, oh, okay. So let's say you have, you make $20,000 on this, and you have like 50 a year, and like that leaves me with, that's like $2.5 million in revenue. I don't know if my math is right, but and that leaves like, that's too small for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so you kind of have to know too, exactly. So understanding. If an investor, so that could be really interesting to some investors because that's the kind of deals that they like to do. There's not that many because they usually, so to give you kind of insight into investor thinking, I'm going to assume as an investor that 8 out of the 10 companies that I invest in will go back to zero. And so you kind of have to bet on companies that would, even if their worst case scenario is still a huge exit, because I'm assuming they're going to go to zero, if that makes sense. So you have to really overcompensate with 1 or 2 for the others. And so a company that makes a small return, in theory, like we're proposing this in more of a financial model, like, hey, I've done this a couple times, I think I might be able to repeat this. The investor's gonna do the math that Alex just made, which is, okay, well, we're talking about, call it $3 million a year, that's pretty small, I have X amount of ownership in that, that's a pretty small, it's not that interesting to me. It's not to say it's a good company,
It'd be
or
great
sorry,
for
to say
us,
that's a bad
but,
company, yeah. But it's not a venture scale company. So that's another thing to consider too, which I think is another thing that a lot of music tech people don't totally get because they built this little thing that's really cool, and a lot of times it may be a little too niche, and they assume because we've all kind of been told, okay, you're doing tech, you gotta raise money. Maybe. You could build a nice little lifestyle company for yourself and your co-founders, and you don't have the added pressure of being venture scale. If you take money from an investor, they're expecting a huge return. So it's just a different profile of business. That's important to remember. Anybody else who's raised money or raising money that any of this really resonates with, or you said you were raising for music tech?
Yeah, well, I lived in Japan. I just
Oh,
came
nice.
back to the States, so I'm learning, I've read all the books and I've been tied to Silicon Valley prior to Japan. So yeah, it's all, it goes without saying that no matter what you do, you have to know your customer,
Yes.
and your customer might be the person investing in you. So by knowing more what they want, it's all,
It's all important.
any kind of selling is by listening.
Exactly.
And listening into their experience, what they are looking for, that's how you can best match up what you offer. And learning by doing. I have crashed too. It's like, that's why I'm back here in the States now, because I feel like, okay, there's time for international connections now.
Very cool. And are you back from Japan for good, or are you going
Yeah,
back?
well, I don't know, but
Okay.
yeah, I hope so.
Okay, cool.
I lived in Japan for 8 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I try to push out, and I think that's a very stupid thing to do. I think it's better to pull.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to, instead of pushing people out of Japan to do business outside, where Singapore and Hong Kong are the big investor markets,
Yes.
by the way. And so instead maybe look here where people are more keen in investing and doing things and offering products then that are not here. Thinking outside the box,
Yeah, that's cool.
always.
Very cool.
So.
The next slide was supposed to be for questions, so we'll just turn it over to questions, but I actually want to turn it over really quickly. We have a representative from a local accelerator, speaking of. The accelerator is called Sputnik. We'll talk about your event in a second, but do you want to give us your insights from your end of the conversation as far as fundraising? What have you heard from your companies as far as their biggest challenges, things that you've seen and say, oh, I always end up telling my companies to do this or to not do that? And then some of the trends that you're seeing as far as Austin versus not Austin from early stage.
Yeah, I think I like what you said about the problem, because a lot of people come up to you and start saying, oh, I do this, but before I can comprehend that, I need to understand, well, why
Oh,
is
yeah.
that necessary? And so starting with the problem really helps to understand if you're not part of that industry in the first place, which VCs are kind of generalist anyway. So usually you have to kind of explain the problem really well so they can then understand why the solution is necessary.
Another little insight into the mind of the investor. The typical investor is people that are naturally curious and they like to continue to learn. And so a lot of VCs, if you talk to them and you say, what's the favorite part of your job? They'll say like, I love making money, huge return on these startups. But that isn't really their day-to-day favorite part, in my experience, from what I've heard from investors. Their favorite part of their day-to-day is learning about problems they didn't know existed. And so if you think about it from that lens, understand that your audience, your point, your customer, they want to learn about new problems. It's cool, that's what helps you solve that problem. So remember that too, and if you're, like I said before, if you're an early stage company, two things that I see all the time with early stage companies: they don't define the problem well, or they don't make it clear why I should care that the problem's important. And then two is they never mention it's good if I have first mover advantage. It's actually not good if you have first mover advantage, because investors think if you're too early, you're going to have to create a market or there is no market. Either way, it's a huge challenge for a startup founder. So what we're hearing as investors is there's either no market, there's either, no market, or you're gonna create a new category, or you're for some reason lying to me and not wanting me to know who the competitors are because you're afraid that if I know that this this is your competitor, I'm not gonna invest. So either way, really bad signal. So make sure you have a slide on your pitch deck that's competitors and just be honest. Yes.
How important is it to have like an extensive story, like a music background, tied to the problem that you identified, or is it okay to just be?
Oh, as a founder, you mean?
Yeah.
Like if you, how much does the
As an
founder need to
investor,
be
when you're
tied
looking
to the
into
problem?
Yeah, when you're looking into that story.
It's a good question. It depends. For music, like
Like, do you
Garrett,
guys have a background?
Garrett, the doctor that I was saying,
Yeah.
he's got to really dial, like you
Right.
have to be an MD to do what he's doing. So that's a really important. If he wasn't a doctor, I'd be like, I don't think you can do this.
Right.
But for general, like for us, for music tech, where we're music tech more on the fan side, not really. I mean, I think we had the right technical background. So Alex was a designer. I worked in finance. We kind of understood, had the business skill set. But as far as was I a musician that was trying to break into the industry? No, I don't think that really hurt us. Obviously, if it is somebody like, oh, I tried and failed a bunch of times, but look at how talented I am, that's a really compelling story. So of course it helps, but as far as will it hurt? Probably not.
I think part of this ties into what I was gonna say too, is like, it's about education. When I first started doing music business in the music industry, I come from the IT Capgemini, management background, and I came into music, and then I presented it back to the Silicon Valley peeps. This is now 15 years ago. They were like, they did not understand the business model, they did not understand the operators, what kind of, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's a different, just like travel industry has its, they have the destination, you have the distribution channels, it has its unique thing. So part of it is to educate, but when you educate, you don't want to patronize. So yes, educating, coming from having music industry background, you know your backline, you know your amps, whatever, if that's what it's about. So you have to educate yourself, and of course, knowing your industry, I think, is always important, regardless of what you do. And then when you educate people, it's a little bit like telling a story.
Right.
You have to be compelling that somebody
Absolutely.
wants to learn about this. So like you were talking about this learning, I think that's why people are interested in all and coming to anything. They want to be attracted by you. And my accent is not Japanese, I'm from Spotify land, I'm Swedish.
Oh, nice.
Just to piggyback on that, I think even if that's not your background specifically, it is helpful to have a founder story as to how you identified this problem, and coming
Yes.
from that you explaining that problem that you've encountered and have experienced speaks volumes, I think, and letting the investor understand that that problem is a very real thing, and
Gives
you as a
credit.
human have experienced it. Yeah.
So Alex used to tell a good story, and I'm going to tell it for you, but you can chime in if I'm wrong. But the way that the whole concept of Music Meets Video started, to kind of your point about tying it to the problem, was Alex had a really boring job before this, and he's like, I would just needed a mental break, and so I would go to YouTube, and I would go, what the fuck? Like this artist is incredible. Like, how come they only have like 48 views on this song? And he would find them looking up like a Taylor Swift song, or I don't know if you were looking up whatever the popular song was. He would find a
Throw her
cover.
to the bus.
Yeah, I liked it. Taylor Swift's good. He would find a cover version and be like, I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense to me. And then he's like, oh, well, it's probably because they're on page 6 of YouTube, but I'm the only person that has enough time because I'm so bored that I'm going all the way deeper. So the idea was bring that person to the front of the page, and so that's kind of like the voting thing was like bringing him to the front. So if you tie if you tie the problem, a personal story that makes it so, okay, I can understand why they care about this or how they have that unique insight. If you're not directly related to it, at least have some unique insight that other people don't have. I think I saw another hand. Did I make that up? No? Okay, any other questions about fundraising, music tech in general? Okay, who's got a music tech company right now that they are trying to get off the ground? Restart?
Yeah, I'm
Is
gonna
this like a-
move it over to the States. I'm gonna do stuff here. I don't know yet, that's why I'm here.
Oh, got it, I see.
I'm gonna get some vibes, pick up Boston, yeah.
Cool, well,
I registered a domain. That counts.
oh, that counts.
That counts,
You're
right?
on your way.
Right, I have a sec.
What is it called?
Amplify and a mix.
Amplify.
But there's nothing on there now.
Oh, okay.
What was the
Yes,
full
like
name? Amplify. what?
Amplify and Amaze.
Cool, good name. Sputnik is having an event for music tech and for, it sounds like more like entertainment as well.
Yeah, music and entertainment.
Music and entertainment technology, they're taking submissions, it's kind of a closed event, but, it sounds really worthwhile. If you wanna chime in with some more, that's all I know.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, so we invest in all sorts of industries, but we have a special guest coming into town to help us with interviews for our next cohort, and we thought we'd have an event while he's here. And it is Jillionaire from Major Lazer. So he's gonna be our special guest for the event, and we're gonna do it for, music and entertainment tech startups, so.
How'd you pull that off?
One of our partners is very friendly and talkative, and he met Jillionaire at Collision.
Amazing. Total Austin story. That's incredible. That's really cool. Well, seriously, if you guys are, how early can they be? Can it be
It can be
super?
really, yeah.
So even if you guys have a concept or something that you really believe strongly in, at least submit. You never know.
I saw a couple other hands, other music startups.
Oh, sorry. I only saw these like 3 in a row. So anyways, whoever raised their hand, or even if you're like, oh, maybe.
I want to hear the concept.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please. Yes, go ahead.
Elevator
So we're
pitch.
going in order.
Elevator
Yeah,
pitch.
Our product is, we focus on like YouTube creators, podcasters, anybody who's really doing media creation. We're helping them locate music for the right licenses. So we're focusing on aggregation right now. We have like about 2 million songs that we can search through the licenses for. The idea is that we right now will be doing like an affiliate model where we make a cut of music that we can forward people to. But the hope is that we can start helping artists and cut away from the losses that they take from having someone else sell their music, and give them a platform that are treated equal across all these libraries, and get them to sell their music directly to whoever wants it.
Cool.
Very cool.
My name's Rick. I just moved here from Rhode Island.
Welcome.
And I guess I have what you would call a mature lifestyle business. I started in 2010. It's called 9Buzz Software. I designed a couple tools for musicians. I'm a drummer, and drum machine, little guitar trainers, and we got some lucky breaks on a couple, websites. And so I just chased that rabbit, and 2012 quit my job, and it's been profitable. It's been like a stereotypical lifestyle business. So now
It's not a
here's-
bad thing. Yeah,
it's
use
not
air quotes.
bad,
That's
no.
great.
But I came down here and I'm kind of at a fork in the road. I realized to really do modern marketing, you need a team, and I was just the guy in the room for so many years, and just working on product updates, and it's so fun to get under the hood and like, what can we do? What problem can we solve? How can we shave some pixels off this thing? I love that part of it, and I've been able to live a pretty cool life. But I realized that there was like a bigger thing calling me, and I'm giving you my whole life story.
Yeah, please.
So I'm at a crossroads. I've been talking to all the mentors here at Capital Factory. It's been incredible. If you're not a member here, I would really consider at least doing a month or two just to have access to the mentor network, because these people have been in the trenches and can just shave years off your life. It's the one regret I have, is just not asking for help sooner. So it's either I could find an acquirer for my company and kind of do a
Oh,
soft
interesting.
landing,
Okay.
or I'm getting persuaded into doing a 6-month sprint and just guerrilla mode and try to, bring some people around me who know how to fix the problems and can just make something cool and bigger, and then maybe have some kind of, I guess, investment interest in at that point.
Cool.
But right now, it'll do about $150K a year, and this is with a partner, and it's kind of, mostly an autopilot type of business, which is great. But finding the people who know how to work in this industry has been a challenge, been the biggest challenge. So I moved my whole life down here to get into, the barbecue center of the universe, and the music part. So
what skill sets, because this is the right room for this, so what
Yeah.
skill sets specifically you're looking for?
I guess the immediate challenge would be, since the products are vetted and they work, getting the cost of acquisition down. And I'm working constantly on the lifetime value part of it, but, someone to run Facebook. I've hired every different person in that chain of the user acquisition team, and you need a team. You also need a robot to do all the buying and bidding on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. So, the
Anyone
term is
here
called,
a
like-
digital marketing expert? No, I'm not raising my hand. No, all right. Well, if any-
Yeah,
okay, we got, kind of,
All right.
or if you have some friends that are knowledgeable in Facebook ads.
People buy the app, so I don't do a free model. Mine is $5 to buy it, and there's some upgrades on the back end.
So what an app does, what app does?
There's 3 categories of users. So to a songwriter, it's a drum machine. To a music teacher, it's a replacement for a metronome. And for a band guy, it's a drummer.
They got the tree markets, basically.
Yeah, there is. So
Okay,
it's-
that's for the marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah, cause gotta try to find, you know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of video content marketing messaging to create for this kind of thing. And also, Facebook is a juggernaut. Just
Of course, yeah, you gotta know how to navigate that. That's a big challenge.
Stuff. I did hear one, if you guys wanna make cool video ads quickly, it's called adparlor.com. I've used it to make a couple ads. Really nice, software, it's cheap, and it will help you make, some good stuff.
So
So-
who's your avatar and how big is your market?
Who's the,
Who
sorry?
is your avatar and how big is your market? Are you looking globally or are you working in the States or, you know, does it have different languages?
Yeah, it sells in every country, so.
What's it called?
The company's called Ninebuzz, spelled out Ninebuzz. My apps are really like obviously named products, like
Okay.
Drum Beats Plus with the plus sign.
Nice.
Guitar Jam.
No need to get
tracks,
it complicated.
Keep
Keep
They're
it simple.
so easy, but that's actually, the feedback I'm getting from these mentors, it's complicated the marketing by not narrowing,
Yeah.
making it a
Be
software
focused, yeah, be
product,
focused.
making it, yeah, so that's my challenge.
So all 3 of you guys should submit yourselves to Sputnik. To even go hang out at the house.
I haven't heard of Sputnik before. Can you tell us all a little bit about
Yeah.
it?
So we are Seed Stage Accelerator, and we're right down the road on, 3rd and Congress. We like maker founders, where one of the makers, or one of the founders on the founding team is the maker of the product, so they're not outsourcing that. Other than that, we're industry agnostic. In order to apply, you have to have MVP and at least 1 customer. Because when you get in the program, we focus on selling and getting traction, so you gotta be ready to sell. And that's pretty much what we do.
Very cool.
And, classes are mandatory, we're kind of, strict about that. But we joke that it's where fun goes to die, but you're starting to grow.
Interesting pitch.
When's your next cohort?
It'll start in a couple weeks, and then the next application opens in October.
How many cohorts do you run a year?
2.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you came. That's a good way to get the word out about this. And on that topic of music tech stuff, again, Austin, I'm really hopeful that Sputnik and more accelerators like that can really, I don't know why I pointed, Sputnik, can help, but then also the big one is South by. That's the giant, the behemoth. And so I sent out a note a couple weeks ago, I don't remember when it was, but it's kind of a really big deal that South by is launching 2 new music tech focused tracks. It's kind of a bullseye for everyone in this group. Because the 2 tracks are basically comes down to how to help monetize artists or monetize music, and the other is future of, like what's next? What are the interesting things that are happening in music now that are gonna impact the next several years of music, or if you're out ahead of the trend or whatever it is. To even talk about like some interesting things, like I think an interesting one would be what happened to VR AR? How come blockchain hasn't taken off? So like it's almost the inverse of like what's next. It's like, why didn't that work? Or is this the peak and then innovation happens after the dip? I don't know. But we have Valeria here. I don't know if you want to present or just say what's up to everybody.
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Valeria. I'm a conference programmer for South by, and I focus on the music content. So yeah, thank you so much for sending out. The reason why I was sent it to this group is because like you guys are the type of people we want to hear from. We want to get you involved either as a speaker within the conference, but we also have a lot of other opportunities. So like if you have a startup, we do have like a specific like South by Southwest pitch event where it's like you just submit your company and then you might get selected, and it's like a few rounds of like pitching, and then there's like, I don't know, whatever quantity of money that you get if you get selected. But like we have a lot of different opportunities to get involved, and yeah, like within those two tracks, again, we know that one of the main things for artists, they want to make money. So we want to focus on those opportunities for monetizing the music, whether it's just like, you know, what's been done traditionally, or like other things of like more artists becoming entrepreneurs and really like just getting revenue from other things other than music. And then yeah, future of, whether it's like emerging technologies or very tech focused, or it's just like cultural trends or any like business trends that you see within music, like we want to hear from our community on what they want to see. Yeah.
Has
And I
anyone
would
been
love
on
to
stage
talk to
at
you
South
about
by?
it.
I'm not raising my hand, this is a good, I mean, we did, when we first started here, we did a music tech event. It was not official, so it was put on, Capital Factory asked us to host a meetup during South by. Not a meetup like this. What we did was we set up that big room with companies and then just had a bunch of booths set up all over the room. And it was incredible. I mean, it was a lot of work, so because we ran it, so it was a lot of work for us. Capital Factory supported it, got the word out, but it was really full. We ended up getting Brazilian cachaça, so we had what was the drinks were good. It was caipirinhas, and then Matt from Brewdrop gave us, he's like, all the beer you want. It was like so it was like a very Austin thing where it was like a bunch of Austin startups helping each other. And then we filled up the room with music tech companies. It was really exciting. We didn't know who was gonna show up, but a bunch of people showed up. And then like an hour before the event, I get a call from Capital Factory, and they're like, hey, your event starts at 7, right? I was like, yeah, it starts at 7. At 8 o'clock, we need you to like, tell everyone to be quiet, and like we're gonna do a special showcase. And I was like, what? And then they're like, Imogen Heap, the artist, is here and wants to promote her new music tech product, which is a glove. And you're like, are you fucking serious? Like, what is happening right now? And so that's the kind of stuff that happens at South by. And it happened, we were not an official event. I'm sure had we been, it would have been even more craziness. So point of me saying that is they're taking panel pickles. How much longer?
Yeah. So panel pickers open.
Did I say pickles?
Actually,
Panel picker.
I like that. I suggested. It closes this Friday, and that's like if you want to have like a full-on session, or if you want to present like yourself, or do a workshop, meetup, whatever. So this Friday, we're probably gonna extend it through the weekend, but that's just to speak at the conference. If you want to get involved in like South by Southwest pitch, we have a lot of different deadlines. If you go to our website, we have everything listed. And if you're like an artist and you want to be an official showcasing artist, like we have applications for that, and those close like I think October and November. So this is just specifically for a conference, but like my 2 cents on that is every year we have like a music tech meetup, which is always packed, so we always put it like in the biggest room that we can find. And then we usually also do an encore just because of how big it is, and we also have like a elevator pitch for music tech startups too, that it's also a meetup, and it's just like you get 3 minutes to pitch your company, and it's usually super packed too. So we're definitely seeing an increase on music tech and like startups and more investors going into the music focused conference. So yeah, like this is just all great people to meet there, and we have like a only startup dedicated track for a conference. So even if you're not directly involved in music and you're just like a startup within another industry, we have a whole track dedicated to that. So, yeah.
And to tie it to the theme of the night, one of the things that we didn't talk about, but one of the it's kind of a slower approach to helping accelerate your funding is build your own personal brand in the industry that you're fundraising for. Get on stage at South by, that's an automatic resume builder, reputation builder. There will be investors in the room, I can pretty much guarantee it, and you never know who's gonna be there. So it's like, if you can, spend a couple hours this week and submit something that you think it gotta be worthwhile, but I highly recommend it.
I think that helps with recruiting too, as a side.
It helps with recruiting. All the hardest parts of getting funded, getting a team together, getting your reputation and building your brand is huge. Okay, so, I don't know what time it is.
8:15.
Okay, so we can go around, so that's it. Any other questions or comments on fundraising? I think we got it. Everyone feel more confident about fundraising? All right, cool. We'll do a quick around the room. Just say we have about 45 minutes left. We're just hanging out afterwards. But just give us your name, why you're here, and if there's anything specific you're looking to get out of the group. Just so kind of like you said, digital marketing, okay, maybe there's somebody behind you that can do it. So I'll start. Luis, co-founder of the Music Tech Meetup. No real incentive for doing this, just wanted to create a place for everyone to kind of hang out and meet each other. In the interest of time, I'll kick it over to Alex.
Same as Luis. We actually started this because there was no place
to
for
hang
us
out,
to
yeah.
meet other music tech companies when we were starting ours. So I work in IoT now for Smart Home Company, and here to meet interesting people and hear ideas and tell you the challenges that you're going to face and help you overcome them.
We'll go this way.
My name's Johnny Robinson, DJ Johnny Slug. Here in town, I've worked in and out of corporate weddings, clubs, tours, and everything. For me, it's as I get older, grow within the industry, booking, promoting, everything is learning the tech side of it, learning the obstacles. And so that's kind of, for me coming in, a learning perspective is to learn about the obstacles and the hurdles that you guys jump within, going into this fundraising and all that. So for me, it's just kind of an initial learning process.
Cool.
Quick question, have you gone to the DJ meetup?
No, I have not.
Okay.
This is the first time.
I'm curious what that is. It just popped on my radar screen. I don't know what it is.
This is the first Capital Factory.
Okay, there's a DJ meetup tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Just FYI, you should go to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely, I'll check it out.
I'm Anna, and I come here because I want to do something, and I have a brain, and I've been in management consulting and music for about 35 years. I'm a lot older than I seem, maybe, or maybe I'm younger than, I don't know. So I want to do something, and I came to Austin, I don't know why, but my friends are here, and I'm booking Japanese artists and American artists and Swedish artists. I speak a multitude of languages, so I thought maybe that could be helpful, like 10 or so. And I just want to do something.
Real quick,
next level.
to that, does anybody, this is a problem that I have, I don't want to push it towards music discovery, because we said earlier that that's
Right.
not really tracking, but like, does anyone else find it really hard to, other than South by? I look forward to South by every year, because I'm like, I'm going to find international artists. Other than that, I don't know how, does anyone have any recommendations on how to find,
How to find
like,
what?
artists from Japan and stuff? It's like impossible.
Come to me.
Okay, cool.
Maybe that's what I'm gonna do actually. And
Okay.
I just talked to like I've been here a few months, and I just now started to talk to owners here, and that's exactly maybe what I will do. It's like I realized, there's like these superstars in Asia that I know personally, and they would love to come. They just don't speak English, so I mean, hello, we can solve that problem. And so what I'm actually thinking of now was thinking outside the box was to combine American artists that wants to be hosted with Japanese artists, so that they can tour back,
Oh, you should talk to my friend Jake.
Like help like the exchange thing happening, because I noticed on South by the artists there are, Japan is a different culture, so they have everything, company is different. They don't send the best artists, they send what they want the West to see, same with Korea.
Come see me after, because my friend Jake runs the Austin Sister Cities, and they do that.
Yeah, I
that
went to the
transfer.
Oita Festival
Oh, okay.
for that reason.
You know,
yeah.
okay, never mind.
I just got here, so yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Hey everyone, my name is Genesis. This is my second day in Austin. Moved from California. I was a pre-med in college. After pre-med, I kind of felt like it was like super cookie cutter. So then I wanted to go to Bay Area. Went to Bay Area without a plan, lived on the couch. Did that whole cliche thing. Worked at a startup called Your Mechanic. on the content marketing team. Then I decided it was too expensive to live in the Bay Area. Didn't see a true upward path within the time that I had enough money.
No path off the couch.
Yeah. I got a 1-bedroom.
There you go.
It was
Yeah, more
expensive.
mobility. There you go.
But yeah. So then I decided, I'll learn something in tech, learn something in pre-med. How about we merge these two things together? So then I went back, took the MCAT, applied to med school, and interviewed for med school. Now I'm sitting on a wait list. In the meantime, I have to start making moves in another direction for the worst case scenario. I'm here today because, yeah, if things don't work out with med school, I'm here to find a role with a company. Can pay me incredibly cheap. I have startup experience. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I have a super long track record. I worked in content marketing. I also went to product management school in San Francisco General Assembly, and yeah, just here,
That's cool.
just
You should,
checking it out.
not that you're asking, but you
Yeah.
should consider finding whatever the intersection of med tech and music is. I would be curious to know. I know there's probably a lot of
Yeah, like
mental
therapy,
health, but there may be
meditation,
other
maybe.
stuff that hasn't been thought of. Submit it to panel
I
picker.
think there's a music therapy startup somewhere in Austin.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. It makes sense to me. It's gotta be, that's gotta be a thing. Maybe they're hiring.
Yeah, I'm gonna say music therapy is a thing.
Okay.
But hi everyone, I'm Alan. Honestly, don't work in music industry at all. I'm just, work at GM as a legal advisor. But I'm currently here because I'm very interested in music. I used to be a musician myself, and honestly, I just love music so much. I prefer to be on that side, but just seeing what kind of doors are available for me. So, and actually, first time at the Capital Factory.
Oh, cool.
So,
Welcome.
yeah, that's it.
I'm Amanda. I work at Sputnik ATX. We're a really small team, so I do marketing, but also other things, as every startup functions.
Yeah, it's true.
We function like a startup too, so I'm kind of like an associate / marketer person.
Are you saying you need a content marketer with startup experience?
I just hired 2 interns, but we have rolling internships opening, so check it out.
Perfect.
I'm Steven. I am, it's funny, I was in a similar position to Genesis here a year and a half ago when I first moved to Austin. This was one of the first places I came because I was looking for a job as well. And then I found a job, and now it's a year and a half later, and I'm kind of getting sick of that job.
So is that when we see you is like tied directly to how you feel about your job?
I'm growing and changing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I graduated with an electrical engineering degree from ASU. I am now a burgeoning software engineer, and I love music. I've been playing piano for like 15 years. I'm headed to the Stagel Jazz Jam after this if anyone wants to come hang out. Yeah, I'm looking for my way out of my current slightly soul-sucking job to maybe. I really like the software engineering aspect of it, but I just would prefer to apply it in a more a way that resonates a bit better. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah,
you can code?
Yeah.
What kind of code do you do?
Uh,
That's always good to know.
I am currently, it's like aerospace engineering research, so I do a lot of MATLAB. I do a lot of like technical report writing and like graphics for that, representing data.
So high level.
That's really technical, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, technical. I don't have like a software engineering education, so I'm still like branching out into like Java and Python and SQL and that sort of thing. But
Okay.
yeah,
That's
work in progress.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting background.
I'm Justin, co-founder of Sonic Bloom. I came to Austin like less than a year ago, and I was in Boston prior and connected well with their music tech startup. Well, not even startup because it was like Sonos and Harmonix and those people. So I was trying to find that here. That's why I'm here. With the startup, with our products, we're finishing our beta. Going to be pushing release soon. We just signed a white label agreement as well, and I have to figure out marketing. So if people know marketing.
Hey,
It's-
marketing's in demand.
Yeah, it's also crazy, I don't understand it at all. So, so yeah, we're gonna be trying to figure that out.
Awesome. I'm Elise. I'm an entertainment and small business attorney. So I have my own practice and mainly focus on copyright, trademark, privacy, and then contractual issues. I've been coming to this for about probably the last year now, off and on, and I just kind of like to come and get a different perspective on things. You can get really legal orientated, and so it's nice to just get different perspectives.
Did you come here when you first moved too?
Yeah, so I've been here for 2 years
It's a
now.
thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. We kinda got it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just give you a real quick one. My name's Rick again, entrepreneur, product guy. If you need any help, if you have a product that you worked on, it's more than an idea, it's on paper, it's on pixels, and you wanna hash through some user experience stuff, that's my sweet spot. So I can help figure out how to make it good, how to make it smooth. I came to Austin really looking for someone who would possibly acquire my business, but there's so much talent around here, it's hard to resist improving it and growing it. So, that's me.
Very cool.
Bill, I've been in Austin, actually just past 3 years. Musician in my background, but I'm actually director of engineering at a video game company.
Oh, nice.
Which company? EA.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm just kind of, while I love engineering and technology, I think I'm sort of hitting that point where I want to do something that's a little bit more passionate. And, I do have a production background for music and video and things like that, so I'm just came here to kind of meet some people and, see if there's any places that, maybe I can help out or, interesting things to maybe be part of, so.
Very cool.
Hi again, Valeria is the name, originally from Mexico City, but I've been in Austin for about 10 or 11 years now. I'm not a musician, I've tried, I just don't have the patience. I have a drum set at home that I keep telling myself eventually I'll learn, so we'll see. I've been involved with South by for the past 8 or 9 years, and I think one of my favorite parts of my job is just kind of meeting cool people like you and just seeing like people that are doing like really cool innovative things out there and like new companies that are coming up with like solutions to different problems and trying to fix the industry and just innovating it. And I'm here at this meetup for that reason.
Howard, I'm from New York, just moved to Austin last year and a half. Mostly spend most time in digital marketing, supposed to market my own stuff, but I came here because I was kind of interested in streaming music, because to set that stuff up basically. The network is someone to set up like a Tidal kind of stuff, in a particular reggae niche from Jamaicans. That's the one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, I'm Chris. I've been playing music since I was little. I'm also a pianist of 15 years. So. Went to school down the street, studied the now unfortunately no longer existent music business program at UT, but fell into working in state government after school. So now I'm just kind of looking to get back into the music space, learn a little more about music tech here, what's going on in the city and at large too, just feel everything out.
Very cool. What do you do? Can you tell us what you do at the state?
It's, I guess the easiest way to describe it is like security for the house. Just kind of making sure that whole operation, help that operation run smoothly when they're in session and out of session.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm Elliot. I've been a music teacher for a long time. Been working at School of Rock for about 4 years, and kind of saw that as a ceiling that I couldn't climb past. So I've been studying web development. In that process, kind of identified a lot of problems that we have as a school that I have when I'm directing shows that I can solve using tech, and so I've done that, and we're using an app that I built everybody at the school uses it, at the second largest school of rock in the country. And so I really am convinced that somewhere out there is a way for me to get paid for that.
Tell us about your app.
Okay, so the problem that I'm solving, in rehearsals, need to take notes student by student because each of their private lesson instructors needs to know what they're doing well, what they need to work on. Each student, we have about 20 kids in a show, 5 at a time they come, play their song. So I have my casting sheet, which is a lot of information that's written very small, and I'm squinting, and I'm looking back up, and I'm trying to remember who that kid is on the bass. And now, I don't have to do any of that. Meanwhile, by the way, I'm typing these notes by hand, so no more. I have an app that works on my phone. For a lot of people, they use it on their computer. And song by song, it reads your cast list, it tells you who's in the room, and then you tell it how they're doing. At the end of your session, it takes those notes that you took song at a time, and it organizes them one student at a time, and posts it to the Google Doc that the instructors are already reading.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
That seems like that could be brought to much larger than just music. That seems like it could be applied to a bunch of different
Yeah,
verticals.
I've like had that conversation. I think it's a lot about like the in and out because we have like a specific format.
Oh, I
for
see. I
casting
got it.
that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if I saw that as like a good opportunity, I would like feel motivated to reconfigure it. At this moment, I'm working on the casting process is a total disaster, like assigning students to songs. So I've like just started trying to make contact, kind of like up the tree and see who has money to spend on that app at School of Rock. It feels like an area where I'm like more comfortable and in control, even though I see like the potential to do that and kind of market it to more people than just School of Rock. That's kind of my focus at the moment.
Really cool.
When I just license into the School of Rock.
What's that?
License into the School of Rock.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good pitch, actually.
So if that was gonna happen, I would need legal help.
Yeah, right in front of you, like without obstruction. Just look straight ahead.
Yeah.
No, seriously, there is a lawyer right in front of you.
Right, that's,
All right, okay.
you just made eye contact.
Okay, gotcha. Just wanted to make it clear that you heard. Okay, cool. Well, we have about 30 minutes, and now it's open hangout time. So go mingle, and if there's anyone that you wanted to connect with, now's the time. Alex? Oh, I'll put on the music. That's it.
Oh wait,
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh wait, no. I thought you
I was gonna from oh, Japanese.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh,
I'm gonna ask her.
Let's see if she notices.
Yeah, like check it out.
That is not a flash.
Yeah.
States is very confusing.